Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and today we're discussing my top 10 favorite movie original scores from 2016. If you are a frequent watcher of LC Screen Talk, then you may remember that I was a music major, and music is a big part of my enjoyment of film, as well as just a big part of my everyday life. I love music, I love the scores used to film, and thus I'm always super interested in best original score, best original song come Oscar time. So I was kind of reviewing some of the best scores of the year, going through my checklist of the scores that stood out to me, and I decided, let's make a top 10 scores list. So the loose criteria I used to come up with my list, first of all, is it well composed? Which, if they're composing at this level, it should be. Second of all, is it pleasant? Is it nice sounding music? Third, does it fit the mood and the action within the film accurately? So does it depict the film it was meant to enhance? And then fourth, is it memorable? Did it stick out in my mind? Did it make me want to seek out the soundtrack? Did it make me want to listen to that music when I got back home? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and kick things off with number 10, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, composed by James Newton Howard. So this score did a couple of things really, really well for me. So first of all, you're reintroducing a franchise that presumably was gone, and we're delving into new territory. So this is a new title for the films. We're not really all that connected to the characters of the first films, and nothing looks all that familiar to fans. So I think it was really important to beckon back to at least the music that we loved from the original Harry Potter series. And you have to give it up for John Williams. What a fantastic theme he created for Harry Potter way back for the first one. And I think that James Newton Howard did a great job of utilizing John Williams' music in the right spots to create that nostalgia, to create that atmosphere. And then deviating away from that and going on with his own score, which I thought was joyous, was jubilant, really bounced along, and helped to create a really fun, a really fantastical atmosphere for the film. At number 9, we have Arrival, composed by Jóhann Jóhannsson. So Jóhann Jóhannsson is one of the more famous composers working in Hollywood right now. He's really acclaimed, in high demand. And when you watch Arrival, you can definitely see why. So the thing that really stuck out is just how amazing it creates atmosphere. I had a lot of problems with the third act within the actual film, Arrival, but the music was consistently great, consistently kept suspense, consistently pushed you and flowed you into the direction the filmmakers needed you to be going. Plus, it does utilize some non-original work over particularly the end of the film so well. I mean, so fantastically well, possibly the best use ever of that song. So, kudos there. And I think that's what good composers do, just as I just said. You take what is there, you take other works, and you weave them into your own work extremely well. Even though this one was a little disjointed, not part of the actual score. But those strings, the ominous feeling, it all just worked so well, and at least for those first two acts had me strung along, moving forward, really anticipating what was to come next. At number 8, we have Moonlight, composed by Nicholas Britell. So I've described Moonlight the film as one of the most intimate films, not only of the year, but really one of the most intimate films I've seen in quite some time. And the score really just emphasizes that. It's not an over-the-top, overblown, loud, epic score. It's a really moving piece that really enhances the emotion of the film, whether that be good whether that be bad, whether that be enlightened. I just think that the music really helped convey the emotions that Moonlight desperately needed to convey, and while the actors and the directing and cinematography all helped as well, I think the score was an integral part for us to really feel what Chiron was feeling in the film. At number 7, we have Kubo and the Two Strings, composed by Dario Marianelli. So what I liked best about the score for Kubo and the Two Strings was how well it adapted Eastern sensibilities when it came to Asian traditional sounds and music, and really melded them well with Western conventions with scores for films. So we had some very traditionally Eastern instruments mixed in with the more traditional Western orchestra. Sometimes the orchestra, the strings really substituted in, and other times the traditionally Asian instruments really had their time to shine. So I thought that balance was struck so well and really helped to optimize the entire film's potential. Plus, again, it was asked to do the task of making sure that the character moments in here remained intimate, that they remained moving and emotionally impactful, but also swelling up and becoming big and becoming grand when we hit those big action set pieces. And I think Dario did a fantastic job across all fronts. I think it was beautiful. At number 6, we have Lion, composed by Dustin O'Halloran and Vocal Durdeman. So this was a co-composing job here, but I think the music used in Lion was so fantastic. It was a really uplifting soundtrack for me this year. I think the film itself is great and pretty uplifting, and the music just helped to lift you up and warm your heart, and swelled perfectly with the climaxes and the ebbs and flows of the film. Personally, I also liked the Sia song that played over the ending credits, and it left me kind of bopping on a high note. And the music leading into that ending, I think, was just spectacular. There are some really great shining moments in the Lion score. It was really memorable to me, and it fit the film like a glove. At number 5, we have Kung Fu Panda 3, composed by Hans Zimmer. And I actually really enjoyed both scores for the first 2 Kung Fu Panda films as well. But I just really loved Kung Fu Panda 3. Not only was the film in general and that animation style kind of kicked up a notch, I also think the score was kicked up a notch. Very similar to Kubo and the Two Strings, I think they tie in elements of China very, very well in the music. I think he has some really great highlights of Eastern influence. But then again, we also get that heavy Hans Zimmer feeling, and that shines through the most for me in Kai's theme. When he arrives and when he's in battle, there's just this wonderful, wonderful theme music that they have for him. But I also love the more ethereal feel when we are in the spirit realm, and the more playful, joyful feeling, and just the epic hard drivingness when we are in the more action intense moments. So I just think the music perfectly scores this film, and it did make me go buy the soundtrack just because I loved, in particular, that Kai theme so much. At number 4, we have Nocturnal Animals, composed by Abel Korzeniowski. What an amazing score this is. I just absolutely loved it. This film relies so heavily on atmosphere and on tension and on just creating this feeling throughout. And the music does it perfectly. This probably has the best use of actual strings of any score this year. I think those violins and violas are working overtime because they're amazing. And that main through line that plays over the very weird, disturbing opening credit scenes is fantastic. I mean, it kind of is one that gets stuck in your head, but you don't know that you want to listen to it because it kind of puts you off ease. But the music fit the film so well, and it just was a beautiful piece of music. At number 3, we have Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, composed by Hans Zimmer. So I know this was a collaboration with Junkie XL, but I just kind of listed Hans Zimmer as the main composer. Regardless, both of them make a great team because the Batman v Superman score is fantastic. First of all, it's just grand. I mean, it really has big sweeping moments, and again, it utilizes throwbacks to like Man of Steel very, very well. Plus, there are so many more softer moments in the score that still keep this kind of epic feeling and flow to it. And, I mean, this gave us that amazing, flawless Wonder Woman theme song. I mean, that thing blew my mind. Was one of the best moments in the entire film when we were introduced to that amazing theme song. So I bought Batman v Superman soundtrack because I just fell in love with this score, and I had to have it. At number 2, we have Jackie, composed by Mikachu. So I don't think I would actually ever buy the Jackie score or soundtrack because it is so effectively tense and so effectively keeps you like on edge that I don't know I could just listen to it in my leisure time. But wow, is it perfect for the film. The strings in this movie just keep you going throughout. This movie could easily fall into kind of dry, bland material, but the score does such a great job of keeping every moment tension-filled, all of the story full of life, full of energy, whether that be positive or negative energy. Especially on my second time through watching Jackie, I was blown away by the score. I really noticed how fantastic it was. It really just shined through. The strings in particular just blasted through the film, and I think that the score was simply fantastic. Before we get to my top pick, let's go ahead and look at some honorable mentions. The Witch, I think, was a very solid score. Again, it brought creepiness and brought craziness, but ultimately it wasn't as good as some of those other, tension-filled scores that made the list. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I mentioned that I liked the score in my review, and then I went back and re-listened to some old John Williams music, and he just brings such magic. But again, upon second viewing, I still enjoy the score, and I think that it was a good John Williams imitation. So, it still is an imitation, and I think if John Williams had scored it himself, it would have made the top 10 list, but it's worth an honorable mention. And then the Disney trio of Moana, The Jungle Book, and Zootopia. The closest one to getting on the list actually was Moana, but I think the actual songs themselves stole the show away from the score, and the score itself isn't nearly as memorable. But Moana and The Jungle Book in particular had really, really good music and great scores, and Zootopia also had a very solid score. So, the moment has arrived. My number one score of 2016 goes to La La Land, composed by Justin Hurwitz. To me, this actually was not even a contest. As great as Jackie's score is, La La Land's music in general is what makes this film as magical as it turned out to be. Not only did the score create just musical moments. I mean, there's at least 3 or 4 different pieces within this film that you just hum over and over after you leave because they're so catchy, they're so memorable, and they're just such delightful pieces of music that they're stuck in your head when you're leaving. A lot of them do get set to words, but I would argue that almost every single one is just as good, if not better, when it's just the instrumentation of that song playing. And that is perfectly highlighted in a montage near the end of the film where all of those are kind of playing back to back with some different transitions and different pieces kind of thrown in. But it's just amazing. It's a wonderful highlight of the great music here. But further than just catchy tunes that get stuck in your head, the score for La La Land perfectly summed up how I feel about the film. It is a big, romantic, playful, fun, fairy tale-like, bouncy score, but it also, especially with that piano and the strings, has that edge of sorrowness. There are some heartbreaking moments of the score that just perfectly accent the feeling and tone of the film. So I think this score is pretty much perfect. Again, he utilizes repetition at a perfect pace and introduces new lines and new melodies when needed, but it just encapsulated the film it needed to embody perfectly. And for all of those reasons, La La Land is my top score of the year. So that's my list. What did you think? Did you agree? Did you disagree with my choices? Would you put them in different orders? What would your top 10 favorite musical scores of the year be? Let me know either in the comment section down below or hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!